Good morning. It is 10:30 on Monday, so that means it's time for Art in the AM. And I have been working in this watercolor journal the entire year for 2026 every Monday, doing the ABCs of art. And we are unbelievably up to the letter Q. And as you can imagine, it's a little difficult to find a word that starts with Q. But if you saw in the description, I have chosen the word quilt or quilting. But I'm not going to do fabric quilting. I'm going to do some paper quilting. And I am really curious because I don't know if this is anything that I've ever talked about, brought up, or anything. If you or even somebody that you know does quilting. I don't even know if that's if they quilt. Maybe that's how you say it easier. I just looked up in my window and I have a quilt pattern in my window. I didn't even think about that. I should have brought that over here. It's a stained glass piece, so it's up in my window, but it's a quilt pattern, right? So I do not quilt. I do not do anything with fabric. I don't sew. I think I took a home ec class in high school, and I don't even know that I made anything I think I made a shirt. I don't know that I wore it. So I don't do any of that. However, my mom does. And I have quilts that she's made. I've seen quilts that she's made for other people. She knows how to do all of that. She knows like the patterns, like she knows about that. And I've been around other people who quilt and create quilts, so I know just by way of knowing someone else who quilts. So I would just love to know, do you know someone, or do you have quilts? Do you is that something that you like? Sue said that she's a former quilter, so I know that there's a lot of technical kind of things that come with that, and I know some people are better at some parts of the quilting, which I don't even know what, I don't even know, like the sewing part, the piecing. I don't even know the terminology. But today, what I'm going to do inside of my journal is to create a paper quilt. And I'm just going to kind of go over how you can create some patterns. I don't even begin to know how many different patterns you can create. And just by the way that you put the pieces together. So what you're going to see today is just me playing and me trying out some things in a very simple way. Oh, carpal tunnel. I know that has become something that those parts of the quilting just make it harder. Maybe this paper quilting you could do in a similar way, just, with paper. So I went through, oh, by the way, if you are showing up and you are either watching here live and have never showed up to my 10:30 Art in the AM, or watching the replay over on YouTube, which I post, my name is Jamie, and I started Creations of Studio 39 in 2020 as a way for me to be able to teach other people how to be creative and how to think in a creative way. So that's why I keep showing up, because I believe everybody can be creative, and I just want to give some quick ideas about how to do that. And this process that I'm going to show you today, definitely, it's going to be creating something from nothing, which is all creativity is about. I have a stack of papers. This is a really small little stack. I just pulled out a few. But I have all different kinds of painted papers that I have made, maybe some little decorative scrapbook paper. This is on a cardstock. This is too heavy. I'm not going to use that. I prefer when I'm collaging and doing things to have more printed, copy paper thickness. So I just have a bunch, some that I have printed out, obviously ripped and used, some that are pieces from things that I've copied, printed off from other people, other little scrapbook, type things. So you can use any kind of paper. And I really don't even have a color scheme because that's the beauty of quilting. I feel like you can use just about any types of colors and you can make them work together. So I'm going to work in my journal, which I will tell you. Oh, another thing that I was going to tell you for using it to do with this paper quilt, I have a Mixed Media 101, it's 10:30 in the morning and I just almost said wine. A Mixed Media 101 Beginner's Resource Guide with 16 different sheets of paper that you could print out that you could use for this paper quilting. So all of these different papers, you could use those for quilting too. So if you want that, just put guide in the comments and I will make sure that you get that link so that you can download those. So let me go ahead and turn this. Hi, Lori. Hi there. Hi there, Tony. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this down and then hopefully my stand stays in place there. And I'll try to move this up a little bit. This is 8.5. I believe it's 8.5 by 5.5. About 5.5. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a border. And I don't know, what do you call it in quilting? For those of you who have quilted, is it just the edging? Is it the piping? Like, what's the edge called? I know that you like take the piece of fabric and you it's like kind of like, it's a border. To me, it's a border, but I'm sure in quilting there's a term for like the edge. So 5.5 by 8.5. I'm gonna use, I think, 1.5 inch squares, and I am going to take a little piece of like chipboard and I'm going to measure a 1.5 inch square to use as a template. Now I have no idea when you are quilting. I would guess somehow that you have some kind of a template. Maybe you just have the cutting board that has the measurements and you just use that and line the fabric up. I'm not even really sure. So I'm going to do a 1.5 inch square. And I'm kind of using the corner of the chipboard here. And I will cut this out so I can use it as a template. I probably could cut it out so that it is a hole, like a square hole. I don't even know that a frame. I think you know what I'm saying. I'm just going to cut it out this way. I know in quilting you have to be pretty exact. I don't know that my paper quilting is going to be that exact. But that is my little square I'm going to use as a template. And basically what I'm going to do is to cut out a bunch of squares from this paper. So that is white on that side. And I think that I'm probably going to try to cut at least 3 from all of my colors. So yes, Lori, these are the same papers. It is the same guide. There are 16 pages in the mixed media, the resource guide. I'm just going to call it the resource guide. And yes, so it is the same papers that I made available. Can't hardly talk and like do my measurements here. Now I'm just kind of using the, see, it's already like non-exact. I don't even know how that happens. Probably because I was tracing around my square and that makes it a little bit bigger, I guess. Oh my goodness. So here's what I will say about my quilting, my paper quilting. It's not going to be exact. And that is okay, because I'm just going to show you the method, and then you can figure out a way to be exact, more exact than me. You could use a paper cutter for this. I have a little paper cutter over here, but because I don't really care if it's exact, like, look, these two little squares are not exactly the same. Like, there's little, and that's okay. It is okay, because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with them, and then you can I actually have 4 of this one. So they're all very different, but they look, you know, like they go together. So I only use a little bit of that paper. So I have some blue. I like this one with the flowers. It's pretty. So let's see if I can, I'll just trace this little square here. I feel like when you are quilting, so I guess I'll have 4 of each color. And I probably don't need too many. I feel like in quilting, you create the pieces, then you put them together into the squares, and then you can piece those together in all kinds of different ways. I could use the larger piece that, yes. So yeah, I could use that right there as my little template. See, Marion, I'm not going to get 4 out of that one or this other one. So yes, I love how she's thinking in a more efficient way, because sometimes I don't do that until like after the fact. So I will cut this one out. It's harder to see the line on this. So I think I'm going to get like 5 different ones, and then I will start showing you how I'm going to piece them together. And I am sure that you could make all kinds of different, Marion says she's not a good measurer. Yeah, these don't have to be exact. I'm going to show you why. I'm cutting these little pieces off here. So I'll use that. Let me go ahead and cut this one. I can see where my should I use this as the template? Oh my goodness. I felt like I had already cut that out. Anyway, I could have gotten these squares beforehand, but I'm going to show you after I get a few of them cut out what you can do with them. This is why I save like all of my little scrap pieces of paper, because, okay, so now I have these 2, so that's 3 total that I have. I already have that paper. That's too small. I love this paper. I've used it so many different times. The only reason that I'm on the front here is because I have this little white edge. If I cut that off, then I could trace it on the back. But I will cut out a few more of these, and then I'll show you how to kind of do the piecing. And I will probably glue them all onto the page after the video. So I'll post a picture of it all finished. Okay, so that is 4. And then look at this paper. That's one of my favorites. It has all kinds of different colors in there, and so it'll be fun. Marion, that's such a better idea. And then I'll trace, you know, I'll cut each one of these in too. Now, if you were working on a bigger, yeah, I could layer them too. She's giving me all the quick little tips. Yeah. So I will, now that I have these 4 cut out. Oh, look, some of these have the back on there too. So it's kind of fun. Oh yeah, that's way over measured not correctly. Might have to use my paper cutter. But I have so many scraps of paper. I think this is going to be a fun way to use up some of these scraps. And oh yeah, that's way over there too. Okay. I'm just going to cut straight through these without even drawing a line on here. I could definitely use my paper cutter, but I'm just holding them really tight and just cutting through. And then I'm going to have all of these little squares. Oh, look at all these fun little, pieces that have the color on there. I'm saving all those little scraps over there. I need to trace one of these in here. I mean, this would be really fun if you already had all of these little squares. Marion says, no math in art. Oh my goodness, that's funny. But there are some times where you have to know how to measure and different things. And quilting, I'm sure, is one of those. So I have all of these little squares. How much fun are these? Oh my goodness. I think I want that side. So turn them all over here. Okay, so I'm going to sort them into the ones that go together. I love this one cut out into the little pieces where they look like they go together, but they're different. I love those. And these are kind of fun because they have some orange in there. I never use orange. Okay, so I have 5 pieces of paper. I may need more than that, but I'm just going to show you how I piece them together. Once I have the squares, then what I do is I cut them into triangles. So I'm not going to draw on there. I'm just going to cut from corner to corner. And now I have 2 triangles. So I'm going to do that with all of the pieces. All of the squares, because then once you have the triangles, you can, I'm going to layer a couple of these. You can put them into all different kinds of patterns, right? For any of you who quilt, I'm sure that that's where all of those different patterns came from. Because you can use the triangles and make all of these different shapes and repeating patterns. And I really love this one all cut apart too. Especially it has the black in there, and so that's kind of fun. That did not come out to be a triangle. That's why they're not going to be like these perfect squares. So we'll just adjust those a little bit. And then this last stack here. I would think this would probably be enough to fill out that one paper. Lori says, this looks fun. You could use all kinds of different scraps of paper, and these definitely are not lining up exactly. They'll be close. Okay, so I have all these piles of all these triangles. Oh, I had one more to cut. These are a piece of scrapbook paper. It's a little bit thicker. Cindy, last week I did the letter O for optical, no, I did, wait, last week was perspective, the week before was optical illusion. So yes, you can go back and I will show you in the book here. So this was the optical illusion that you can draw. And then last week I was doing the perspective with the lines going out. And last week for perspective, just like skip past the beginning because I wasn't like awake all the way or something. I don't know. Okay, let me put this all the way up here. So that'll be kind of more where you can see it up there. But this is what I wanted to show you because now that you have these squares, I will leave like a little bit of a border here, but then I can start putting them together. So say I wanted to have these two together, but then what you can do is you can turn these so that they start create like these different kind of shapes. So once I kind of put those two together, then it really creates like this diamond right there, right? A diamond. And then I could repeat this shape here. And I could have this one turned this way. And I could put the flowers again in here. And I think once you kind of rearrange these together, those of you who are doing, wait, let me, I think I want it this way. And I'm going to pull one that looks a little bit more like these. So right, I created kind of a square of these in the center here. And then I'm going to create this kind of border around in here, right? So like you could play with the triangles and create like these other shapes. And so this is a square, like in quilting terms, like this is one square. So you're taking the pieces. So then you would create a lot of these. Maybe you would even have these same patterns and then you would repeat those and sew all of those together. I mean, at least that's kind of like my understanding of quilting. But you could start putting all of these different pieces together in different ways. So maybe I would create this one so it creates more of like this diamond. And these are way off. So once I would put those together with that diamond shape, it just creates this different type of, pull these off here, this different type of square that now has like these diamond shapes in here. And then when I put another one beside it, then it would create like this other diamond shape coming up this direction. So I'm just going to start playing with all of these different ones. I could make one square and then like repeat it if I had, you know, I would be able to make two squares that look just like this, right? Because I have 4 more pieces of this blue paper and I have 4 more of, so I can make 2 squares that look just like this one. Lori, it could be kind of like a masterboard, like you could create a whole quilted pattern like this, and then you could use that for all kinds of different things. Like you could cut a heart out of the quilted pattern that you've made out of there. So it definitely could be, you know, so if I wanted to create another one that's like this, and I'll show you how it kind of like goes together. So it would look just like this one. I cut these little blue ones shorter, so now they don't exactly match up. That's why I would probably not be a good quilter, because they would not be these perfect. I would have to kind of like overlap and cut a little bit, and but let me see if I can push them together so then you can kind of get an idea. Where it starts to create like this chevron. Is that what that little like pattern is called? So I could have like 2 of those, and I'd probably have enough to create like another, well, maybe not quite another set down there. But so I'm going to play around with these pieces, and this is what I would suggest for gluing them down. I have been using some Scotch tape to, like, I would lay it down and I would lay them down on top of the Scotch tape to kind of hold them in place first, and then you have a full sheet that then I would like glue down. When I have been working in my journal for the flowers that I have been doing inside of, and I'll show you this one here, that I've been doing inside of my Art Journaling 101, where I have the prompts for the month of April. So I have the whole list inside my journal here that I've been going through. So today's will be a forget-me-not. I don't even know what a forget-me-not looks like. But what I've been doing for the backgrounds are a lot of collage, which is what this paper quilting will be. And what I've been doing is having a piece of paper the size that I would want it. So I would have a piece of paper that is the size of the 5.5 by the 8.5. And then I would lay these pieces down upside down on top of the masking or the Scotch tape. But for what I would do with these is lay a piece of Scotch tape down and start placing these on top of it just to hold them together. And then you could piece it all together to have the full sheet, where this has like a little bit of a border, so it has this full size sheet to be able to glue it down on there. I'm sure that you could probably figure out maybe a more efficient way. What I would not suggest doing is like glue this one piece down and kind of go from there, because I think that you're just going to it's going to get off a little bit. So I would piece it all together, maybe off, onto like off your journal, and then you could glue it into there, and that might work a little bit. But I'm gonna put a piece of Scotch tape down and then just try to lay these on top of it. And I have all of these different ones. It's gonna make more than I need for this sheet here, because I've only used 2 pieces of paper. I probably only needed to cut 4 pieces of paper. So I would love to see you try this, because I am sure that you could figure out how to cut them better, you could figure out how to measure better, and you could figure out how to get the right size and get them all in place better than I did on a Monday morning. So I wanted to show you a little bit about quilting, because this is just a quick idea where you can take some of your scrap piece of paper, a little template, and you can cut them into these triangles and start just playing around with them. And I have just started thinking about all the different things that you could do. This, in the background of this one, was more or less a quilt pattern. It just had wavy lines instead of straight lines, but it kind of looks like a quilt in the back. And I colored it all in just with markers, and I didn't want it to stand out as much. So then what I did is I kind of brayered some white paint over top of it so that then I could put a flower. Little tickle in my throat. And then I could put the flower, excuse me, on top so that it stood out. So there's all kinds of different things that you could. Lori said you could do a card with those. Absolutely. Mother's Day is coming up this weekend. Make a card out of the quilted pieces. I'm sure that you could look up the quilt patterns, and there are so many different ones that probably would piece together to look like a flower or something. So there's all kinds of different ways. I just wanted to give you a quick idea that you could use to be creative, because like I said, that's really why I started doing these videos, is quick little ideas for you to be creative and maybe to learn a little bit something more than taking someone's idea and just trying to recreate it or copy it. So I want to encourage you to be creative, and taking these little triangles and putting them together to create something new is the whole definition of being creative. Taking something from nothing and making it into something. So I hope you have a great day. And Cindy said you could quilt the word mom. I love that idea. You could definitely do that. And mom is very, those 3 letters are very blocky. I think they could work really well for putting the pieces together. You could quilt the whole thing and then draw the letter, the mom letters, and paint inside of it or paint around it to make the letters show up. So many different ideas. It's just a different way for you to be creative, and especially if you like measuring, if you like being precise, this is a way to kind of combine some of that with the more creative part of how you're putting it all together. So I encourage you to try it. If you do, you can always tag my business page and put that in your post if you post about it on Facebook, but you can also share it inside of my Art Journaling 101, which is where anything that I share here live on my videos, you can, share your version, your interpretation, and your creation of it over in Art Journaling 101. So I hope you use this quilting. Next week, I will be back with the letter R. So I will see you then for the ABCs of Art.